Good morning and welcome to the Power Minerals Investor Webinar. Today we're joined by Chief Executive Officer Alastair Stevens. This session will cover the company's recently announced acquisition of the Morro del Ferro project in Brazil, exploration progress at the Santa Ana project, and an update on the Salta lithium project in Argentina. I'll now hand you over to Alastair.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, investors, my pleasure to do the first webinar that I've been doing for Power Minerals since I've joined. I've only been here a couple of weeks and enjoying it. It's absolutely fantastic company with some fantastic assets. And I'd like to run through some of those premium assets that we've got between Argentina and Brazil. So the theme is we are developing high-grade critical minerals in the Southern American continent. A great board of I'm really pleased to be part of this team with Stephen, Mina, James, and Paul. Really enjoying my time. They're a great community to get on with. So that's a really easy thing to do when you're CEO. It makes my life a lot easier. So great support from these guys. And I think Mina's done a fantastic job of what he's done with putting this portfolio of assets together. It's really quite stunning. So my accolades to that gentleman. He's a great commercial businessman. So the investment highlights for Power Minerals is that we are capitalizing on some really high demand, high grade projects, but high demand commodities in what is becoming an increasingly important sector. Especially that's come out just now where a crisis really highlights the fact that greener technologies and non-oil based type materials are going to be the future in terms of mitigating risk across the world. So it's a funny thing how it's happening right now, how it's changing people's behaviour, which will change demand, which will change the way projects are being developed across the globe, especially these ones, because we've got niobium, lithium, especially rare earths, because that's a real fundamental, important mineral for the technology coming forward. We have a clearly defined focus and strategy. We're targeting these energy transition minerals, as I say, niobium, rare earths, and lithium. And they're really high quality asset base. I'll run through that through this presentation. Really, really good assets in Brazil and Argentina. We've done some partnerships, which I'll elucidate into. So an expensive asset of superior quality projects, really good board, as I said, and active ongoing field work across our portfolio. Brazil. This is the part of Brazil that's fantastic. 25% of the world's known rare earth resources and the largest reserves outside China. A really good established mining sector. So you got all the infrastructure, all the operators, all the export capability. The technology exists in Brazil, especially in the rare earth sector, as you saw this week where there was a US delegation into Brazil that visited and was incentivizing downstream processing in Brazil. They have even a magnet manufacturing laboratory of equipment that can be replicated. So the value chain in Brazil exists. So there's an increasing government focus on the critical minerals as a national strategy and growing geopolitical alignment, as I've just mentioned. There's another aspect here that Brazil has around about 70% of its electrical generation is hydroelectric power, supplemented with solar and some wind, some other activities that mean that a large percentage of its electrical generation is low cost. It's around about US 4 cents a kilowatt hour. And it's also independent of oil. It's an exporter of oil. So in terms of what we see away from what we see in Brazil is a capability to be a standalone business proposition in terms of mining sector without the influence of oil shocks that was going around the globe. So it's a great place to actually develop projects is where I'm leading. Now let's talk about Morro del Ferro. This is a stunning acquisition. It's in progress at the moment. We're still going through DD. We're almost finished that and we expect the finalization of that very soon. It's located in Minas Gerais, meaning in Portuguese, the general mining district that the Portuguese named very centuries ago. So it's always been an important mining area and will remain a very important mining area. What we've got at Morro del Ferro is some pretty high grade rare earth mineralisation. Well, pretty mean very high grade. And I'd ask you to go back to the have a look at the announcement on the 5th of May when we released some of those results of that project. There's one particular hole there going 100 metres at 8%. It's absolutely stunning. So its mineralisation is open along strike. It's certainly open at depth. And we are in the progress at the moment of planning our drilling phase. And as soon as we've got the agreement signed and finalised, we'll get drill rigs onto that project as quick as we can. So I'll give you an update on the timing of that very shortly. And a really important part of this project is it's a title called Manifesto de Mina. Now, that's a title that was granted in 1943. It was done before the current constitution and was a transition title into the new Mining Act. This Manifesto de Mina means that we own the surface rights. So on top of this project at the moment is a eucalyptus forest. We own the surface rights, so we own the land, but we also own the mineral title underneath it. And one of the unusual thing about this title is that it has no expiry date. So that's a huge advantage in terms of your risk profile of a mineral tenement. So that is a really important aspect of this project. High grade in a mining title that has no expiry. Primary mineralization is basnasite. It's a really good mineral to be in. There's various different types of rare earth minerals. Basnasite's probably the easiest and simplest, just like Mountain Pass. Mountain Pass is a very large resource, very high grade. Potentially, we could be replicating something like a Mountain Pass, but in a tropical environment where you've got more alteration and weathering going on. So probably not hard rock. I suspect it's quite weathered and not hard rock for maybe 100 or 200 metres. We'll find out in this drilling program. That has a big advantage when we get down to mine planning and our cost base of mining. So, as I say, the resource drilling is an advanced stage of planning, and we're targeting this high-grade resource. Mina and I have talked about potentially putting one hole in there of maybe 500 metres, probably towards the end of the program when we've got more data on the nature of the distribution of the dimensions of the project, laterally, but also at depth. And we'll put a large hole in there and just see what exciting things we have potentially at depth with this project. I would expect this to be a standout project in terms of rare earth projects across the globe. There's very few projects with this tenor of grade in a basnasite situation, basnasite mineral, which makes rare earth processing very easy downstream. So here's some of the fantastic assays so far. 60 metres at an almost 9% TREO, 70 at 8, 60 at 7. Auger holes 9 at 11, 10 metres at 7, 10 metres at 6. Ultra high grades to 24, 18, 17%. And then what is really important about this project is that there's some very, very high grade magnet rare earth type minerals. So we're talking about neodymium, praseodymium, also terbium, dysprosium. I'll come back to that in a moment. Some of the really high grade intercepts are 34%, 33%, and 31%. I've just realized there's an error on that slide. They're not 3, 3, and 3%. They're 34%, 33%, and 31%. So I'll correct that. My apologies for that. That's my error for not picking that up. Let's talk about the distribution of rare earths. From the assays that were in the table 1 on the 5th of May, there's quite elevated, there's very good grades of neodymium and praseodymium. So I expect a high ratio of NdPr in this, which is where all your value is. There's also quite elevated grades of dysprosium and terbium. There's dysprosium assays of around about 500 ppm, and I think the terbium might be on average when I eyeball it around 150 ppm, and they are at least 10 times the average tenor of most rare earth projects. So I'll be keeping an eye and giving you updates on what I think is precipitating here, not just in NdPr, but TBDY. This could, if it was things going my way and I had my wish list, I'd be saying it's an NdPr TBDY project, high value magnet rare earth material. Okay, if I just step now to Santa Ana. Santa Ana is in a state called Goiás, which hosts the capital city of Brasilia, of Brazil. It's located about 40 kilometres worth of it north of a town. It's a high-grade niobium first rare earth carbonatite project. So it's very close to Catalão, owned by CMOC in Brazil. So it has similar styles of mineralisation. I think Catalão, from memory, is around about 0.7% niobium grades. And this is a fairly large complex. It covers about 5.8 kilometres. The drilling we've done so far only covers about 9% of that entire complex. So it's very early stages in terms of our discovery on what this entire carbonatite distribution of mineralisation looks like. There's some high grade results. It's got continuous mineralisation. It's open-ended, especially at down depth. So what we will present to you in terms of an MRE or an exploration target, whichever it is at the very early stage of development of this project. There's a lot more work to do. These complexes typically have a niobium part, they have a rare earth part, maybe some other types of mineralisation. And it's also in an area where it's grazing, so it's not forest, so it's very open, grassland type landscape, which makes it very easy for access for drilling rigs. And it's very close to roads and power, and we've got good relationships with the locals, and no adjacent projects. So I've been in niobium as well for the last 20 years, so I quite like this project. It's the number two project for our portfolio. Number one is Morro de Ferro. This one is number two, and could have some interesting niobium mineralisation that could be very interesting in terms of our portfolio, maybe supplemented with some rare earths, which would supplement our Morro de Ferro project. Here's some of the results. Grades up to 1.47 niobium, 1% rare earths, and some narrow intercepts, but some also broader intercepts. It's a clay hosted, it's fairly deeply weathered, and you can see from the drill rig there it's grassland and it's quite soily country, so it's relatively easy access and good drilling. We've got some additional drilling planned to see how we could extend the surface footprint and depth footprint of this mineralisation. And we've engaged SRK Consulting to assess the mineralisation that we have in drilling at the moment for a mineral resource estimate, expected probably this half at some point in time. Certainly before the end of June is what I'm hoping. I want to briefly talk about Salta lithium, because this is a very large salt lake complex in Argentina's lithium triangle, which Argentina has about 65% of the world's lithium salt lake resources. So we're in a really good district for lithium mineralisation in brines. There's 5 projects. The mineral resource estimate at the moment is contained around about 715,000 tonnes of lithium carbonate. And it's possible to Ganfeng and Rincon, which is Rio Tinto's operations. So they obviously choose their projects highly selectively in terms of not only just tenor or grade, but in size. So we're in a very, very good district for a great salt lake lithium brine hosted mineralisation. It's a fantastic jurisdiction to be in. And we've just, so we did an initial scoping study for a 7,000 tonne per annum operation of lithium carbonate over 14 years, generating $195 million worth of revenue each year. So that's a very interesting project. More importantly is that we have done a joint venture with Summit, Explore Exploration. Now, the important thing about this is they have technology for high purity and high recovery extractions of lithium from these lithium type brine projects. So we're levering on someone who's got the expertise in salt lakes. More importantly is that it's a fantastic deal when Summit are going to spend $6 million US on a project for no earning capacity at any stage until there's 59% for them completing the construction of a commercial plant that produces 5,000 tonne per annum. So that means we have 41% ownership of an operating entity. What the other leverage on that is the deal is that if Summit introduce other projects into this joint venture in that district, it comes into our joint venture without being a dilutive effect on Power Minerals. So there's a couple of many upsides in this. One, they spend money to actually get us through to the design of a commercial plant. Two, they build a commercial plant. And three, they expand the footprint of the resource such that there's opportunities to actually expand operations down track. So it's a really good deal, leaving you on someone who's got the expertise in Salt Lakes and can dedicate their resources into the development of that project. So I really like that joint venture. Okay, so upcoming activities, as I said, the completion of the due diligence for Morro to Ferro, and some announcements about when we're going to start drilling. The Santa Ana niobium project, we'll have a resource estimate by the end of the year half, and some planning around additional exploration activities on that project. And the Salta lithium, the deal with some at the moment is a non-binding. We'll look to consummate that agreement and finalise it into a definitive agreement, and then start our progress into a feasibility study for that project. So there's some really good activity coming up, and I expect some fantastic news flow on a regular basis between now and certainly the end of the year, the annual AGM. Hopefully we've got a fantastic portfolio of outcomes from all our projects to present to you guys. So please keep in tune, because there's a lot happening with Power Minerals. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Alistair, for that update. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. A recording of the webinar will be available on Power's LinkedIn, X, and their website, and will also be sent by email to subscribers. Thank you again for your time.